Live from our 7 Tasmania studios, your nightly news with Kim Miller begins now.
A schoolyard brawl has broken out between Labor and the Liberals over who can fix the state's ageing classrooms. It was an easier day for Peter Gutwin, who went sightseeing with a chequebook full of promises.
Reeling in voters one at a time. Cruising into Coles Bay with $35 million in East Coast promises, the Liberals pledging half of it for a new visitor centre and gateway into Freycinet.
317,000 people on a normal year travel into this area.
The communities here have had a very, very tough year. The East Coast is actually the sixth most dependent region on tourism in Australia.
$6.8 million will be spent on Bruny Island, while there's $7.5 million for upgrades at the St Helens police station, as well as cash for 4 new paramedics and local hospitals.
And importantly, also a $300,000 investment in a helipad at the St Helens District Hospital as well.
Labor went back to school with this commitment.
A Labor government would invest $50 million in what we're calling a neglected schools fund. These are the schools that have been ignored by the Liberal Party over the last 7 years.
While Tanya Plibersek had this to say about Peter Gutwin.
You would honestly think this guy had taken a masterclass in bullshit artistry from Scott Morrison.
Labor would also match new schools and upgrades promised by the Liberals.
We know there's schools in the northwest like Montello that have inadequate toilet facilities.
Which, by coincidence, was where Jeremy Rockcliffe made this announcement.
A $7.1 million investment to upgrade key infrastructure facilities.
No, I wasn't aware of that, but why has it taken an election campaign for them to come to the party with Montello? They've been in government for 7 years.
In Launceston, the Greens argued only they can stop a Liberal landslide in Bass, promoting a national policy to tax billionaires by an extra 6%.
And we'll use that money to expand health and grow jobs, including here in Tasmania.
10 more long days to go. Sean McComish, 7 Tasmania News.
The Firefighters Union says all parties should commit to banning a controversial foam used to battle blazes. The union and the Animal Justice Party have joined forces to see a foam known as PFAS outlawed.
It's been banned by the UN, and here we are in Tassie, probably the most pristine state in Australia, still using this toxic chemical.
I was horrified to learn that Tasmania is still using this chemical. There's absolutely no need to use this particular type of foam.
The government says the Tasmania Fire Service no longer uses the product. Meanwhile, Tasmania's unions are calling for a suite of reforms to bolster gender equality in the workplace. They want all sides of politics to legislate an Equality Act and Commissioner.
Because it's really clear that the existing framework of relying on individual women to make complaints isn't serving them well.
Also calling for a change in health and safety laws to create better guidance on sexual harassment. The new Bruny Island ferry is officially on the water and taking passengers. The Parabar is the last instalment in a new fleet, but with traffic to and from the island booming, residents aren't convinced the faster but smaller ferries can keep up with rapidly growing demand.
Out with the old and in with the new. Bruny Island's newest ferry officially taking passengers.
Hey! The first vessel was launched in March last year, so today marks the milestone of getting both vessels into service and the new operation up and running.
Sealink says it will allow more than 100 vehicles an hour to go to and from the island, up from 80. This day, a long time coming for resident Trevor Adams.
I was born on Bruny Island in the early 40s, so that's a very long time.
He says time will tell if the smaller but faster ferries can keep up with demand. Tourists flocking to the small community, in the past some queuing for hours to snag a spot on the ship.
Sealink said they can do it, and I'm very positive about that. A lot of negativity is around the island, but let's wait and see.
Yeah, we're very confident that these two vessels operating at a higher speed and more frequently will definitely be a benefit to Bruny Island.
But Labor says the process to get here has taken too long.
So whilst today they might be celebrating the launch of a new boat, the fact is the government really mucked up that process, which set it back and really upset a lot of people in the community.
The government labelling those comments ignorant, saying the tender process was competitive and fair. And some residents are concerned about the decommissioning of the Mirrambina, which has been in operation for 30 years.
The Mirrambina's at end of life and it'll be handed back to the Transport Commission within the month of May.
Meg Sides, 7 Tasmania News.
Bell Bay has been shortlisted by the federal government to host one of the new hydrogen hubs. As part of the $275 million announced for the technology, 5 hubs will be set up around the nation. The locations are set to be announced early next year. Fortescue, Origin and Woodside have all proposed or said they are investigating hydrogen developments for Bell Bay. Pallets of public health gold are heading to Northwest community groups thanks to a distillery's donation. Thousands of litres of sanitizer produced during the pandemic will now help cut the cost of compliance as life returns to normal.
Local groups can't wait to get their hands on this. Pallets of premium hand sanitizer to be pumped out across the Northwest.
Over $100,000 worth of hand sanitizer.
Southern Wild Distillery was one of the first to switch from spirits to sanitizer. When the cleansing commodity became ultra scarce, desperate locals came to the door. In one case, a mother with immunosuppressed children.
We gave her a box of hand sanitizers to take with her, free of charge. And as she was walking by, we saw her crying as she walked past the window.
Now, community groups will be able to slash their sanitisation costs as they return to hosting larger public events. The rollout will be driven by demand and coordinated by the Latrobe, Kentish and Devonport councils.
There's an extra cost involved in providing that social distancing, the sanitizer and all of the exits and entries and all of those things. So hopefully this will relieve some of that stress.
At its peak, Southern Wild had 13,000 litres of sanitizer ready to go. With the last of the surplus now gone, the distillery can focus on expanding its core business. The type we can drink. Tom Johnson, 7 Tasmania News.
8 police bikes are set for a second life, donated to New Tasmanians at Mowbray's Migrant Resource Centre. The donated bikes were raffled off during an English class held there today, with police in attendance to hand them over.
It's not a regular English class at the Migrant Resource Centre for these Nepali and Bhutanese migrants. 8 lucky attendees are about to win a raffle for a mountain bike.
The 27.
I think what we've seen this morning is that people are just so happy to have the opportunity to be given a bike to ride.
The ex-police bikes set for a new home. Many hadn't owned a bike before, and if they had...
Probably not bikes that are like mountain bikes, and probably a lot less in terms of the quality and what have you.
I'm not sure whether I can ride it or not, but I have my husband and my son and daughter. Most probably I'll give it to my daughter to ride.
The exercise also fostering relationships between Tas Police and Launceston's newest members of the community.
Gives opportunity to some people who perhaps might be able to get into a good sort of bike.
The way the Launceston community donates and gives to the migrant population is just wonderful.
The proud new bike owners will soon be heading to Derby to hit the trails there, with a local organisation donating accommodation and classes. Josh Duggan, 7 Tasmania News.
After a tough year for the tourism industry, a new heritage-listed boutique hotel has opened its doors in Hobart. What started out as a simple refurbishment turned into 2 years of renovations in a true labour of love for the Rivulet owners. And with bookings already filtering through, they're confident the sector is continuing to bounce back from the COVID downturn.
I don't think the tourism attraction of Tasmania is a short-term thing.
Tasmanian artists were used in the decoration of the 19th century accommodation.
Our state's push for an AFL licence may be on the back burner, but the Devil's name and heritage is fueling newfound footy interest halfway across the globe. The US AFL competition has close to 50 competitive sides, and its newest team has a Tasmanian flavour.
For many in the Apple Isle, these are familiar colours, playing a familiar sport, but not in a familiar location. The North Texas Devils latching on to the identity and image of a club 15,000 kilometres away.
It's great to see the Devils
being used as a vehicle for more people to get involved in the game.
The US AFL's 48th side was born 6 months ago, and since then around 50 players have signed up, a mix of Americans and expat Australians.
We kind of feel that we need about 40 on the training track to field a decent competitive side, and we're probably getting around 17 to 20.
To the new recruits, this foreign game had a simple sell.
It's like a soccer rugby blend, and I said, tell me when and where.
However, grasping the skills has been a challenge.
A lot of them don't actually touch the ball. In American football, there's only a handful of them, so getting some of them to get used to those ball skills is a little bit different.
A surge in popularity has seen the league grow to 3 divisions, featuring teams from all over America. Names such as the Hawks, Tigers, Lions and Swans. But for North Texas, they wanted something fresh.
We didn't want to do an AFL club because they've already been represented.
Now players are embracing their new team and gearing up for the season opener in around 2 months. For most, it will be their first ever game.
It's awesome to see how much the sport is growing in a place like the United States.
And as for who these new football converts support in the AFL, well, in Texas, it's hard to ignore the hometown boy.
Cox again! I'm going to have to go with Collingwood, mainly because of Coxie.
Garth Burley, 7 Tasmania News.
The coach of the Northwest Thunder says his side will need to execute perfectly if it is to overcome NBL 1 powerhouse Ballarat this weekend. The Victorian side boasts a wealth of NBL experience, but Nick Haywood is confident a round 1 win over the Hobart Chargers has given his team plenty of confidence.
It's all about growth, and week to week we'll see if we can sort of add some bits in and get better, you know.
The Chargers will also take on the Ballarat Miners this weekend. Some of Tasmania's best female soccer players are gearing up to face mainland opponent Calder United in a curtain raiser to tomorrow's A-League clash in Launceston. The Victorian club will play 2 matches against a Tasmanian youth team as well as a state senior side. The first match begins at 1:45 tomorrow at UTAS Stadium. Ed Maguire's grip on Targa Tasmania glory remains firm, the Tasmanian extending his buffer to 2 minutes in today's drive from Launceston to Strawn. He hit some serious speed even over the narrow crossings in his Dodge Viper. Trevor McLeod remains in second in his Nissan GTR, but Angus Kennard remains hot on his heels, along with 2-time winner Tony Quinn, both also driving Nissans. Meanwhile, the Datsun is running hot in the classic GT. John Siddons has a 3-minute lead on his nearest rival.
Good evening. Hobart 15 degrees today. The northern centres all 14 after some very low numbers everywhere overnight. None of those as low as Lyaweenie's -7 as overnight temperatures sunk as low as 10 below average. King Island, Smithton, Friendly Beaches and Bushy Park all 15. Flinders Island, Low Head, St Helens and Grove 14, Strawn 13 degrees. Low-level cloud moved over the state today from the northwest, left the east fairly clear and sunny this afternoon. We have another frontal band heading our way from the southwest of the state. Low cloud is over South Australia. That's due to onshore winds. Patchy convective cloud over northern Queensland. Tomorrow the front looms as a trough moves off the east coast. A series of troughs sit over Queensland and the Northern Territory. West to northwesterlies, 25 to 40 knots over the south and to 30 knots elsewhere. Swells between 5 and 8 metres in southern waters. Gale warning, that's for waters between Tasman Island and Low Rocky Point. A strong wind warning for remaining coastal waters along with the southwest lakes. Hobart 10 overnight, a top of 16 tomorrow, 15 the top for Cygnet with a possible shower or 2 for New Norfolk, 15 the high. 17 for Launceston, an early shower, a shower or 2 for Devonport, 15 the top, 15 also for Campbelltown, dry and cloudy, 15 for Bruny, showery windy day for Strawn, 14 the top and 15 for Smithton. St Helens expecting 17 with an early shower, partly cloudy for Swansea, 17 as well, 15 for Fingal. On Friday, showers over the west, far south and Bass Strait, but fine elsewhere. Similar conditions forecast for Saturday. And showers over the west and south on Sunday, but fine for the Hawks-Crows match at UTAS Stadium. Remember, early start, 12:30 with restricted crowd numbers if you want a ticket. Mostly sunny in Perth tomorrow. A shower or 2 in Adelaide and Canberra. After some morning smoke, a fine 23 in Sydney. Partly cloudy, but fine in Brisbane. Bit of cloud about at the moment. Cool too. Hobart 12 degrees, 9 in Launceston, 10 right now in Devonport. Temperatures might be cold at the moment, Kim, but we are expecting them to get above 20 again late October.
know, you got me there. I thought you were going to say this weekend. I was excited there for a moment. Well, that is your midweek news on behalf of the 7 Tasmania team. Thanks for your company tonight. Good night.